Mexico's popular President Claudia Sheinbaum just sticking the dagger into Donald Trump, delivering the cold, hard truth in a major speech about Mexico's sovereignty. And while Mexico is willing to cooperate with the United States, President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico says Mexico is in a very different place than it was before, when people like Donald Trump thought that they could subordinate Mexico. Watch President Claudia Sheinbaum's powerful message directed at Donald Trump. Let's play the clip right here.
Of course, we are interested in collaborating and coordinating with the United States, but the relationship has changed, and the essential relationship is we coordinate, we collaborate, but we do not subordinate. It is a different relationship. And that is the relationship we have established as the government of Mexico with the United States government. That's why we always say, what do we ask for Mexico? Negotiate, dialogue on equal circumstances, not submission. And that is what led to the change in the national security law, saying, let's see, there are agents from agencies in Mexico of the United States, but they have rules. The moment the United States decides to declare organized crime organizations as terrorists, we brought an amendment to the Constitution saying, look, if they are going to enter here with permission and following all the rules, our territory is inviolable. Yes, things have changed a lot. There are welfare programs. There is a different economic model. The country is doing well economically. And in the relationship with our neighbor, our trading partner, it is a relationship of respect, of understanding, of seeking mutual benefit, because we are a sovereign, free, and independent country.
Now, I want you to take a look at this headline, because this is what's happening in the background right now. This is being reported by the Associated Press. 17 family members of notorious cartel leader El Chapo have entered the United States in a deal that was struck with the Trump administration, Mexico says. And Mexico was not had no discussions with the United States about this. And they just learned about it because the Trump regime was taking family members of El Chapo's kids through the border in Tijuana. Take a look at how the New Republic writes about it. Yeah, so if you're wondering, wait a minute. So Donald Trump is sending migrants with no criminal history to concentration camps, but he's bringing in the family of El Chapo to live out their lives in the United States, and El Chapo's kids, as you're saying? Yeah, that's actually what Donald Trump is doing. Take a look at this article from the New Republic. Trump makes stunning deal with Mexican cartel leader. Why were family members of notorious cartel leader El Chapo allowed into the United States? Yep, the Trump regime has reportedly cut a deal with a former cartel boss in Mexico, with 17 family members being allowed to enter the United States. Now, this wasn't discussed with Mexico authorities. You literally just saw Chapo's family cross the border at Tijuana and enter the United States. Mexican Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch confirmed in a radio interview that, yeah, the family of Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of notorious cartel leader Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, were allowed to enter the U.S. Associated Press was the first to report it. Guzman Lopez took over a faction of the Sinaloa cartel after his dad was captured and imprisoned before he himself was extradited to the U.S. in 2023. Garcia Harfuch said that Guzman Lopez had been sharing dirt on other criminal organizations as part of a likely cooperation agreement with the United States. It is evident that his family is going to the U.S. because of a negotiation or an offer that was given to him by the Department of Justice. And he's like, can the United States tell us more about this? As part of President Claudia Sheinbaum's message to Donald Trump, you'll see here that she says, yeah, we need to know more information about El Chapo's family going to the U.S. What kind of deal was struck between the United States and El Chapo's family? What the heck is going on here? Here, watch this clip.
They have to inform and they have to explain well to the people of the United States as well. How is it that if they are reaching an agreement, how do they do it? And to Mexico, obviously. Why? First, they are Mexicans. And second, one of their relatives was sent with extradition. That is, there is an investigation file here. Even more, there were elements, the army who died in that operation. So that's why we say information, The issue is not whether we combat organized crime or not, but whether we want the law to be upheld. And of course we do. And we are doing our job. The issue here is what information is there and how do they explain this? So they have to report. They have to report.
Now, this is not the first time that President Claudia Sheinbaum has addressed, Donald Trump trying to assert either the Department of Justice or American military forces into Mexico. You'll recall that about 11 days ago or so, President Claudia Sheinbaum had to deliver a message to the people of Mexico discussing how Donald Trump wanted to send United States military forces into Mexico. And what President Claudia Sheinbaum says is, not only did I reject having American military forces into Mexico because our sovereignty is sacrosanct, but I told Donald Trump, don't you dare send weapons into Mexico. One of the biggest problems we have in Mexico is that the United States keeps selling its guns into our country. Here, play this clip.
I want to close with something that is important. Notice that yesterday it was published in a newspaper in the United States, in the Wall Street Journal, that President Trump, in one of the calls, he told me that it was important for the United States Army to enter Mexico to help us in the fight against drug trafficking. And I want to say that it's true. In some of the calls, but not as mentioned, he said, how can we help you fight against drug trafficking? I propose that the United States Army come in to help you. And do you know what I said to him? No, President Trump, the territory is inviolable. Sovereignty is inviolable. Sovereignty is not for sale. Sovereignty is loved and defended. There is no need. We can collaborate. We can work together. But you in your territory, we in ours. We can share information, but we will never accept the presence of the United States Army in our territory. I said something else in one of the calls. I said that Mexico is great and its people are very brave. That is our country. That is Mexico. And I told him one more thing. If you want to help us, President Trump, help us to prevent weapons from entering Mexico from the United States.
Now, if you're surprised how Donald Trump is cutting deals with El Chapo's family and bringing Chapo's family into the United States while he tortures other migrants without criminal history, you're like, that sounds a bit odd. I want you just to also recall that in the past 2 weeks, Donald Trump was praising the Houthis. Yes, so the Houthis had struck down 8 Predator drones over Yemen. 2 F-18 Hornets in the Red Sea were destroyed. Our Department of Defense has placed a gag order over the entire Department of Defense, DOD, not to report casualty numbers coming out of the war in Yemen with the Houthis. But Donald Trump said that he made a deal with the Houthis. He said that there's now a ceasefire between America and the Houthis. And then he went on to describe the Houthis as being very brave and courageous and great resistors. He said, here, play this clip.
As you know, we had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates. And we honor all of their words. And we'll see what happens. But I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with. And they'll leave the ships alone, just leave those ships alone. But so we do. We take their word for it. It was, we hit them very hard. They had a great capacity to withstand punishment. They took tremendous punishment. And, you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. but we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore.
So I just want to get this right. So Donald Trump loves making deals with funders of Hamas in Qatar. Donald Trump loves making deals with people who were involved in 9/11 in the Saudis. Donald Trump loves making deals with the Houthis, a terrorist organization who he says praises them, says they're incredible brave. Trump is making deals with Chapo's family without even consulting Mexican authorities and interfering with Mexican sovereignty right there. But yes, Donald Trump hates Canada. Donald Trump attacks our allies in Europe. He attacks Zelensky. And by the way, today's Thursday. Wasn't Donald Trump supposed to show up in Turkey? And wasn't Putin going to show up in Turkey? Because Zelensky said he was ready to show up in Turkey and have peace negotiations. Heck, Zelensky says that he's already agreed to an unconditional ceasefire, yet Donald Trump attacks Ukraine and not Vladimir Putin. I just think we paint a full picture here of what's going on. But I think leaders, just like President Claudia Sheinbaum and others, recognize how weak and pathetic and vile Donald Trump is. They know how to outmaneuver him very easily. And I think you're seeing right there what's going on. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. And thank you for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.